If you enjoy listening to adventure stories, then you should visit thedihedral.com. You will find stories from other members of the community and read about climbing, life, and the outdoors. Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Let's connect and climb on!
Climb on! This is Garrett. Welcome you to another episode of the Dihedral Podcast presents Anything But Climbing. Our guest today is professional rock climber Nina Caprez. Since the early days of climbing for the Swiss national team, Nina has been putting up long, hard routes all over the world with the best of them. In addition to her unbelievable climbing skills, Nina has this remarkable reputation for her positive vibes and free-spirited nature. Nina's free-flowing style of climbing, based on the connection she has with her surroundings, is evidence that perspective and determination can lead to great things. It's not every day that we get to visit with such a captivating and magnetic personality. And of course, we have a million climbing questions for her, but that will have to wait for another day. Because today, we're taking 15 minutes to talk with Nina Caprez about anything but climbing. Nina, welcome to the show.
Hey, wow. Thanks for this nice introduction. Wow.
It's all true, at least from the rumors we hear. So, our producer, Gaia, she's going to be keeping track of time, calling us out if Nina or I mention climbing, and cutting us off after 15 minutes. So, Gaia, are you ready?
Yep.
Nina, are you feeling okay?
I feel perfectly okay.
Perfect. Let's do this. So, Nina, I couldn't imagine a better person to talk to about the concept of happiness. And I was hoping you would be open to talking or having a conversation regarding the idea of happiness. Would that work for you?
That's a good subject, yeah.
Oh, awesome. So I guess just sinking into the conversation, just jumping right in, I thought we could talk about the difference between being happy and feeling happy. First, I guess my question is, do you think there's a difference between being happy and feeling happy?
Yes, definitely, yeah, definitely.
How would you try to cleave that difference between those two things?
Being happy is a personality, I would say. And feeling happy is really connected to the moment or a thing you do in a moment or in a day or, an activity or whatever. But it's really like a short-term activity related thing, right? So I think being happy is really like 80% or even like 90% overall psyche or state of mind or just thing you are. And then feeling happy is like sometimes we feel sad and sometimes we feel happy. And happy people feel, I think, more happy than sad. But yet, yeah, it's really like it has a start and an end.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I feel like you summarized that perfectly. I personally think that sometimes we confuse these things. I'm guilty of it oftentimes where it's almost like it's retrospective, right? Sometimes I can look back at past moments of my life, where I might have not thought I was doing great, but when you put that together, like you said, over the long term with where you come out of sometimes feeling sad, I can look back at times that I thought I was miserable and be like, that was actually a pretty happy time in my life. It's more of there's like a longevity to it where happy feelings are more passing or fleeting or come and go. I'm wondering if you think that it's contradictory or not to feel sad yet be happy.
Well, I think if you're a happy person, so you are happy, being happy, right? And then it feels sometimes strange when you feel sad. But at the same time, it's easier to accept like those sad feelings because it's just for a moment, or it is really related to a thing, you lost your whatever, you lost a person in your life, or there was a really bad thing happening in the world, war or whatever. So you can really feel this sadness coming up because there is a reason. And so I think it's more easy to just to live it, to fully live it, to cry. Like when I feel sad, I cry, and it's really good. It's a really good feeling. I just let it go. But I know that in general, like, I don't know, almost 100% in my life, I feel happy. And I think it's definitely due to I'm a very simple person, I would say. Like, I don't need much in life to be happy. I'm really excited. I'm I'm excited, actually, super fast. I never felt the the drive towards drugs, let's say, because my happiness, like my state of happiness, it is already so high that I don't feel like I need something else to give a kick in my life or to give like a happy feeling. And so yeah, so sad moments are easier to live then. And then it goes, and after the rain comes the sun, and it's just part of life. There are periods of time also where I feel a little bit more low, more sad, and often I can't really say the reason why, but I know there is a reason. And even though only after days or after weeks I can really see and realize the reason, I knew that my bad feelings are always related to something that's happening. Versus depressive people, I think it's the opposite. Like they feel just like a state of sadness almost all the time, and due to drugs or medicine or whatever, they can feel happiness, but it's not really like a regular thing, like the happiness. So I feel pretty lucky, huh?
Oh, absolutely right. One of the things that you mentioned that just stands out, and I think it's really true, is you don't we don't need stuff to be happy. You know what I mean? You,
No.
as essentially a minimalist, it's almost like the more stuff you have, or the more stuff we try to accumulate to make us happy, it almost, at least it has the ability for me and probably a lot of people to weigh us down. So I was wondering if you
Mm.
can talk about the difference between maybe like searching for happiness out there versus searching for happiness within.
Well, the thing is that I'm pretty happy also when I'm just on my own, like alone. Let's say I can look at my feet and I can start to laugh because they're so ugly, from all the climbing. And then I'm just laughing and staring at my feet. It's like, oh my God, they are so not nice to look at, and I can laugh. Or I don't know, I can just be in my room and sing a song, or I can just have a really big drive to make a nice meal for myself and just enjoy myself with a glass of wine. So I think this is really part of like the happiness, is like just with the simple regular thing I can enjoy and entertain myself. And then when I can share this is also good, but I think just on my own, and I'm happy. So I think this is a big it's a big gift, and yeah, it's a big quality. And yeah, I mean, I don't actually think like, oh, how can I make my life happy? How can I feel happy? What can I do? It's really just, it kind of comes and go. But I mean, in general, I laugh a lot. Like I really have a big portion of like self, like a good portion of humor, and I really love teasing, and yeah, I think I don't take life like too seriously.
I mean,
Yeah.
all these things sound like the perfect recipe. I think I can guess your answer to this question, but do you, where do you think you would be more happy? In, I don't know, a five-star hotel in the middle of a big city, or sleeping outside under the stars in a hammock with a campfire and a couple of friends?
Well, I mean, this is really a simple question to answer to, and you all know the answer.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I like being outside, and that's really the place where I'm most happy. I think this is not really like, the question is, where would you be more happy? I think the question is more, how easy do you have access to this like happiness, like to really to feel happy, like not just to be happy because I'm a happy person, but really just to feel happy. And to me, it's often when I live something, I do something or whatever in life, and then I zoom out and I have a outside perspective of where I am, with who I am. So it's, and then I feel like a kid somehow, you know. It actually it happened yesterday. I'm working right now on like a piece of theater with 9 amazing acrobats and a highliner, and I had this crazy invitation of yeah, being part of this big piece of theater, yeah, art. And so they we were building like an entire wall, like climbing wall. And at the beginning of the piece, like we are 10 acrobats, like we myself with 9 other people, and then we were just hitting ourselves on the top of the wall, and then we were just watching the beginning of the piece is like this highliner walking on his line and with some a beautiful text he has written. And so I was just looking around and like watching Nathan walking on high line, and then the other acrobats, and they're really like kids, you know, they really love to play. And we were there, and the excitement was so big because we felt like already on scene, and then you can't wait to start and to perform. And I was really zooming out and watching at me like in this crazy thing I'm involved now. And I felt like this big wave of like happiness coming up. And it often happens when I do things I'm not used to. It's easy to tell you, yeah, of course, I'm super happy when I'm outdoors singing around the campfire in the mountains. Of course, I know that. But sometimes I found myself in situations that were unbelievable. I wasn't able to imagine them before. And then just this big wave of happiness comes up. And this is actually a thing you can only have it when you do stuff from time to time. You don't have control about it, or you never done before, you know. And I realized that, I mean, over the last 15 years, I became so good in my job, in doing what I did, you know. I was super on under control, actually. Like all the ventures were about control sometimes. And then when at the time, you know, of a certain age, you just open up and you share more about your knowledge and like all the lessons I learned in life. And then you find yourself in these crazy situations, you know, and then this wave of happiness comes up. And this is actually very interesting. Then you feel like a kid again, you know, discovering a new word and like being super excited and like playing with other people you don't really know, and everyone is kind of crazy. And I love it, actually. It's a good reminder to do things you don't have really, you're not used to do, or it's not in your routine, or you never thought about it doing it.
I think that's unbelievable advice. I feel like I should definitely be more like that. It's almost as if you have to go out of your way, or at least I maybe need to go out of my way to say yes to things outside of my comfort zone. You know, even
Yes,
though things in our
definitely.
comfort zone make us feel comfortable and happy to a certain degree, that doesn't mean there can't be a better type of happiness or a different type of happiness. When you talk about just some of the experiences you've had in this piece that you're working on, bringing you back to the happiness of a kid, that's very different than the happiness that you might feel, like you said, at your job or something
Hmm.
like that. So
Hmm.
is that something
Hmm.
that you would recommend, is intentionally saying yes to things that you might otherwise say no to?
I wouldn't put like a big intention on it. And it's interesting what you're saying. I experienced that on my travels and on my traveling in the US, is that you have like two extremes. So you have people, like the large majority of people, they're really uncontrolled. They have a really big routine in their house. It's almost like the American stereotype, right? Like middle class, like American, with like, you know, a little house and like the perfect backyard and whatever, you know, kids and stuff. And then from out of those Americans, you have like people, they are like a rebel. How do you say?
Yep,
Yeah.
rebels.
So it's really extreme. So it's not really like in the flow, yes, I try something out or do something else. It's like, I don't want to be in the system, so I need to push hard and to really to force it because I want to be different. I want to do different. And so it's a little bit forced. And this is what I experienced in America. It's really like black or white, if I can say this. It's not racist at all.
No, not
it's
at
really
all.
just like gray or blue or whatever, red and blue. And in Europe, it's more a little bit freestyle because we have all those different countries in such a little place. So there's not really like a stereotype of like a typical European citizen. And so you have people that are just more a little bit out of the system, or there isn't really a system, or the system is really different in between like whatever, Switzerland and Sweden and Spain. And so it's not really like the people say, okay, now I need to do things I never tried out. It's more like, it's more fluent, I would say. It's more instinctive.
Yeah. It's kind of like
Yeah.
the way that people grow up.
An American will be like, okay, I decided now that I forced myself to do things I never did. Google, show me things I could do. And then they type in
Alexa.
Google, doing crazy things. And then they will be like, oh yeah, that was fun.
That's so unfortunately true.
I'll do it.
Nina. That's hilarious.
You see?
So a couple things I just want to say. One, Gaia just informed me that 15 minutes is up, so I could go on and just listen to what you're having to say. It's really interesting, and I think really helpful to me and hopefully all of our listeners. But yeah, I also want to say while we have you, this was the easiest interview I've ever done. I feel like I've turned it on and just got to listen to somebody who is just sincere and honest, and I can't thank you enough for sitting here with us today.
Wow, thank you. And that was easy to talk about it.
Nina, Guy also let me know that you mentioned climbing one time, so we're gonna make a donation.
Oh, no way.
In your name,
cool.
to a charity of your choice. So if you have a charity or a cause that you'd like us to donate to, just let us know, and we'll definitely send some money their way.
Cool. Yeah, I would love to donate. To an association called the Climb Aid. Climb Aid. Yeah, they go and have a climbing truck, and they climb in Lebanon with refugees of Syrians. So it's a really good cause.
That's amazing. Yeah, we'll check it out.
Yeah.
We'll definitely send some money their way. I also wanted to offer you the opportunity, if you want to take it, before we go, if there's anything you want to plug or anything else that you want to mention. I hate, it always feels uncomfortable just like breaking a conversation right off at the end. So if there's anything you want to add, or like I said, anything you want to plug, please feel free to take a minute or so, 10 minutes if you want to go nuts.
No, I think I would just love to send out positive vibes in the world. I think it's a little bit dramatic right now. I think the world and the universe have seen worse, of course, better and worse. But I think it's a really good moment, I think, just to send out some big hugs and some happiness, and just that I invite people to look at their feet, their ugly feet, before going to bed, and to have a big love. And I think it's good for the psyche right now, just being happy, even though the world goes wrong and everyone is kind of bad and all this stuff. But I think it's good to love. It makes it easier.
That's perfect. I'll stop it right there. Nina, thank you so much for joining us today. You're everything.
You're welcome. Goodbye.